The title for my talk today, as you know, is thinking a bit more about cross-cultural learning in global times, and talking particularly about knowledge exchange between Canada and Brazil. In introducing these projects, I hope to make a case for how Canadians could benefit from working more closely with Brazil. With colleagues in political studies, I'm currently co-writing the capstone volume to a major collaborative research initiative funded by the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada on globalization and autonomy. We started the project just before 9/11, and we're concluding it in the aftermath of a global financial crisis. Perceptions of globalization have changed during this period, but global awareness has intensified, as has the sense that the world is now inextricably interconnected. Our project provides a Canadian-based perspective on the evolving research field of globalization studies and considers how autonomy may be secured within these shifting structures. These are important questions for Canadians, because Canadians are currently rethinking our place in the world and the contributions that we can make to global trade, global peace, global understanding. The world is not becoming flat, but our understanding of our place in the world as Canadians and as global citizens is changing. So, securing autonomy and building democracy are two of the crucial issues today. Developing citizen learning for global democracy, the theme of our most recent workshop in Delhi, is closely related to the focus of a new project I'm developing with colleagues in Canada and Brazil. We call it Brazil-Canada Knowledge Exchange, Developing Transnational Literacies. Literacy now means more than simply being able to read and write. We use transnational literacy to encompass those forms of critical, digital, and cross-cultural multi-literacies that the knowledge economy depends upon. We're asking how these forms of literacy can be developed through English teaching in a variety of contexts where global English is assuming new forms. English occupies different positions in Canada and Brazil, but in neither country is its position simple. Like Canada, Brazil is highly regionalized, with significant local differences in educational participation and practices. While our focus falls on practices between our two countries, our thinking is shaped by the global context in which we work. We argue that as the world becomes more interconnected, cross-cultural communication and understanding become more important. The motto of the new Monk School for Global Affairs at the University of Toronto is "Join the global conversation." We're asking, what kind of conversation will this be? In what language or languages will it be conducted? Who sets the rules? Who decides the terms of engagement? Where might the global conversation lead? How will global community be negotiated? Local needs be respected? And compromises between different views be respected? These questions about power, agency, and control have been asked in different forms for many years, but they're acquiring a new urgency in the current global climate. The G20, as an experiment, is slowly opening a global conversation to formerly excluded and marginalized voices, but it provides a very limited model with mixed results to date. Can universities develop a more inclusive and more effective model? So these are some of the big questions framing our work. We focus on one dimension of the global conversation, English language teaching in Canada and Brazil. Language, we think, is central to culture, democracy, and agency. Recent news that the current Chinese census omits any questions about language indicates how politically sensitive such questions can be. the attention to language in recently revised citizenship tests, and multicultural debates around the globe, and in schooling controversies in Quebec, provide further evidence of the close linkages between identity, communal belonging, and agency. So for these reasons, we've selected global transformations in English as a key point of intervention. Both Canada and Brazil face challenges in their educational systems. Literacy, however, understood in both its narrower and broader dimensions, remains a major concern in both. Canada has a much higher participation rate at all levels of education, whereas Brazil, with a much larger population, is scrambling to catch up in terms of enrollment. Canadian promotion of French-English bilingualism has a checkered history of success and pullbacks. Brazilian policies promote English teaching and recognition of the global importance of English, and Spanish in recognition of Brazil's location within South America. Brazil is beginning to address equity of access, but much more remains to be done. From our work together, we expect to see research outcomes in changed pedagogical practices, curriculum development, and teaching material in transnational literacies, including the critical, cross-cultural, digital, and multimodal literacies. Enriched academic understanding of globalization processes, the knowledge, society, and interdisciplinarity, and better understanding of how globalization is changing Canada and Brazil. Through our focus on work with teachers and in the public schools, we aim to enrich public understanding of globalization processes and the function of English and multilingualism within them. And at the simplest level, we hope to encourage student and wider public interest within each country in learning more about the other and building closer connections between our two countries. So I'm hoping this talk has made you more curious about Brazil, about the scope of transnational literacies, and the potential of International Education Week to spark new understanding, new thinking about Canada's role in the world. How can education be reinvented for our times? How can democracy be renewed? Globalization inspires such questions, and it challenges us to think more deeply about them. So it's an honor to be invited to speak to you here today, and I welcome your comments and your questions. Thanks for listening.